Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me to be with you today.
Welcome. Madam, we are very grateful that you've taken your time to join us on this occasion to have this interview, your date with GBS. Kenya passed the new constitution. It is now 2 years down the line after its promulgation. What do you think much has been achieved from this new constitution?
I think there's quite a bit that has been achieved, and even in areas where we're not moving at the pace that we would have liked to move as a country, I suspect that things would have been worse if we didn't have the new constitution in place. In terms of achievements, I think definitely the Kenyan public has now begun to demand, as a consequence of the constitution, that appointments into public office are made on the basis of merit, and that they are done in a transparent manner. We've had quite a bit of success as a consequence vis-a-vis judicial reform. I think the process that the Chief Justice went through in order to become the Chief Justice was extremely rigorous, which has helped to begin to restore confidence in the judiciary, and that arm of the state seems to be moving at quite a decent pace in terms of the reform process. We have several new institutions also that are going to be very important in the long run. Some of them are still a bit on the young side, and so we can't quite say. But on the other hand, there have been some challenges. I think there are those who were not very happy with the new constitution, and we've seen resistance in respect of security sector reform. And so there's still some challenges in respect of that particular sector.
When Kenyans passed this constitution on 27th of August 2010, there was a lot of jubilation, a lot of expectation and aspirations from Kenyans. So far we are seeing that, like, in terms of its implementation now, there are issues which are coming up here and there, that there are complaints about that is Parliament and also the executive trying to water down some kind of bills, especially, for example, maybe the integrity bill, and also the issue which you have cited about not respecting the constitutional deadline as far as maybe key offices, for example, the commissions, the Police Service Commission, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, and the other commissions, for example. What do you think will be the major issue?
I think, first of all, I think it's important to understand that really the best that those who are reluctant to see the new constitution take effect can hope for is to postpone what they're doing. That's all they can hope for. So all they're doing is delaying. The best they can hope for is a postponement. You can't destroy these provisions because these are constitutional provisions. And in order to destroy them, the amount of work that would have to be done is actually quite immense. In respect of the integrity bill, which is still a bill, despite having been passed by Parliament, there were several concerns about it because the President, it won't be enacted until the President assents to it. There were several concerns about it. Some of those concerns actually relate to attempts by Parliament to give itself powers to do things which it actually doesn't have the power to do under the Constitution. For example, the vetting of electoral aspirants is a constitutional mandate. The Constitution requires that the IEBC, before it clears somebody to run for office, makes sure that that person has satisfied certain criteria that are constitutional criteria. So Parliament may have deluded itself that either by not mentioning the IEBC or by attempting to give those powers to other institutions.
Like the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, I saw those.
It also has its responsibilities, yes, which again were just Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission itself was either not mentioned or there was an attempt to create other bodies. But these are constitutional mandates. So they cannot be assigned to other institutions. Parliament simply doesn't have that power because it's the Constitution that vests these powers in these institutions. And it's the Constitution that determines what Parliament's powers are. So it really was an exercise in futility. Our political culture in this country is one of impunity. It's one where we don't respect the rule of law. And so when you see some of these actions, people are just acting in the way they've always acted. They don't understand that they just don't have those powers anymore.
Parliament being one of the key organs as far as legislations are concerned, how will you trust these these parliamentarians, given that they also have their own interests and maybe interest and varied expectations as far as the constitution and its implementation is concerned?
There are certain roles that Parliament has to play, regardless of how we feel about Parliament as citizens. Whether you like it or not, legislation, that is the name of Parliament. It is the legislature. That is its role. It is to pass legislation. We ourselves have a critical role to play. As long as they're human beings, as long as they can get away with it, they're going to do what they can get away with. So it's up to us to make it clear to them that, you know, they are our employees. They have a responsibility. We didn't send them there to do the kind of things they're doing. We need to wake up to the fact that this is not just a challenge amongst our political elite. We ourselves as citizens, there is a question whether or not we actually value integrity, because why is it so easy to compromise us then? Why are we so willing to consistently put in office people who don't respect these norms and people who disrespect us? We keep talking about the political elite, but do we have a critical mass of Kenyans? Are there enough Kenyans who believe enough in this country, who have enough integrity that no matter what, they will not allow anyone to actually destroy this country? Are there enough of us who have that willingness and that commitment?
The violation of human rights, of course, and we are seeing like this kind of bill has been regarded highly in the new constitution. What do you think is the problem, and why is this really happening? Looking at the killings, of course, here and there, like for example in Tana River.
What has happened in Tana River is also an indictment of our political leadership in respect of the attitude towards security sector reform. It's completely shocking that there is even the entertainment of a discussion about whether or not we're going to appoint the new Inspector General of the police. That these discussions are being trivialized, ignored, or delayed. The commandant of the administration police resigned the other day to go into politics, which is his democratic right. I commend him for having respected the rule of law. Why hasn't the political leadership appointed the new commandant? What are they waiting for? So, you know, and it is poor people who end up paying the price of this, who pay the price of our recklessness. I really just think that this twiddling and faffing about really on this question needs to stop. You know, they need to take their job seriously, and they need to respect the rule of law, and they need to do what needs to be done in order to ensure that the security situation in this country is addressed. The Bill of Rights was the most popular chapter in the Constitution. We actually nicknamed it the People's Chapter. I think for most ordinary Kenyans, it is what inspired them most about the possibility of the new Constitution. I think without that Bill of Rights, I think without the Constitution, we would have been in an even worse situation with all these things that we're seeing. I think at least the Constitution has made it possible for people to start asking certain types of questions and start making certain demands of our leadership. It takes a lot for a society to learn and to move forward, and that there are benefits in the Constitution that will not be realized in our lifetimes. But what the Constitution has done is given us a sound theoretical framework for us to move forward as a nation. And we have to guard those principles jealously, because if we don't, if we allow them to be eroded, then we don't stand a chance. No. Yeah. The state has an obligation to protect its citizens. It is the first obligation. Any regime that is unable to provide the security to its citizens has no business insisting on holding on to power. None whatsoever.
I know in 2007, 2008, most Kenyans were actually killed, especially women and children and also the elderly. Of course, amongst other Kenyans who are killed. Now, going to the general election, what do you oversee? Has really been right things put in place to ensure that you're going to have maybe a peaceful election? If
we're seeing this level of violence this early on, things are only going to get worse. We really need, and this is why I say that we need to see those who are responsible security in this country taking their job seriously and doing what they need to do. And I'm now not talking about the police actually. I'm talking about the political leadership. They need to respect the law, because without them respecting the law, they're disempowering the police. The commissioner of police is not responsible for his own appointment. There is somebody else that's responsible for his appointment.
And he's answerable to that.
Yes. So they need to make it possible for him to do his job. He is being disempowered by this conduct. And let me be very clear. When we talk about appointing the Inspector General of Police, we're not saying don't appoint Matthew Itere. What we are saying is follow the law, so that whoever is Inspector General of the Police has been appointed properly, so that they have the confidence to do their job properly. It's completely appalling that the police are being undermined in this way, because what it means is that right now, when they go to do their job, whatever decisions they're taking are open to challenge. So we need to see everything that needs to be done to make sure as soon as possible that we have a new Inspector General of Police in office as per the Constitution and the Police Act. We need to see that commission, in terms of the commissioners for police, in office. We need to see respect, and we would like to see the IEBC asserting itself more, taking full charge of its responsibilities. We'd like to see respect for the provisions regarding the registrar of political parties, because that too is another office that has not been filled properly. And we would like to see those who are in office temporarily respecting the law as well and doing what they're supposed to be doing, not giving up their powers to others. We're concerned about the NCIC. We would like to see whatever needs to be done to make sure that that commission is operating in the manner that it's supposed to be operating. And we're concerned about the new Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, because as you know, the positions for the new commissioners had been advertised, but there were several concerns raised about the interview, the way in which those who were shortlisted. As a consequence, there are people who went to court challenging their appointment, and so again that institution is also in limbo. So we would like to see whatever needs to be done in order to make sure that as soon as possible all the relevant institutions are in office.
Yeah. Madam, according to you, what has been achievable also about this commission, the TJRC?
The TJRC situation is very sad, frankly. It's just very disturbing. These constant requests for additional time, really, I think the TJRC has been given plenty of time. We would like to see that report.
Everyone is asking, who is this executive woman, always in TV, in paper, on radio here and there, talking about the issue of human rights and much of that, away from your professional life rather? Tell us a little bit of your social life.
Actually, the truth is, the last 3 years I haven't had much of a social life. Not because I wanted it that way, and it's actually been worse with KHRC than it was even at COE. Yeah. It's quite ironically.
The work is really very tough.
Yes, there's a lot of, it's just a lot of work, and it's different when you're, it's a different type of institution, because one of the things about CSOs is that the nature of the work is quite unpredictable. Yeah, okay. Unlike committee of experts, where it was very, very busy. We were working round the clock, but it was predictable. It was predictable in terms of its busyness. Yes. I think we had a lot more control over the schedule. So it has been quite disruptive. I mean, normally when I have more control of my life, I think I like to go to the cinema quite a bit. You know, I like going to the movies. I'm very sad that a lot of the cinemas in this city have closed down, because there is a difference between watching film on the big screen and watching it on the small screen. There's a difference in terms of the quality and in terms of the way it looks. So I think that's one aspect of my social life that has suffered. I like to spend time with friends and with my family, eating out, having people over for dinner. it's not been possible to do as much of it as as I normally like to do. And I like to read. I like to listen to music, especially live music. But again, that has suffered quite a bit. Because ironically, we've had people who've come in whom I would have liked to see perform, but they're here on a day when I'm just either I'm not in the country, or I have to be someplace else. So it's just not been as frequent as I would normally. And I love art. I like to do art exhibitions and just speaking with other artists. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with us. We've just been talking to the Executive Director of Kenya Human Rights Commission, Madam Atsango Chesoni. She's been able to share with us a lot, especially as regards the new constitution and its implementation, and of course the challenges ahead of its implementation. Thank you so much, Madam, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
It has been a pleasure being with you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure being with you as well.
Also, and offering your life for the voiceless in the society.
Thank you very, very much.
It's a very great mandate. You don't take it for granted.
Thank you.